His name is Leif Babin. And I'm going to let him talk about where he comes from and how he ended up in the teams. But before I do that, I want to tell you something about Leif. After we got done with our workup, and before we went on deployment, before we went to Ramadi, I was talking to Leif and I was talking to the other platoon commander together, the Delta platoon commander, and Leif was the Charlie platoon commander. And I said to them both, I'm going to get you guys more combat than you can take. I'm going to break you. And I was half joking. But at the same time, I had actually already seen men break during a fairly simple deployment to Iraq. But I knew I would push these guys hard. And through timing and fate and force of will, the battlefield of Ramadi gave me the opportunity to make that happen, to push them and try and give them more combat than they could take. But they took it. And they took it far beyond what I ever could have asked for. These two officers, the platoon commanders, and with them that core group of frogmen, of warriors in Task Unit Bruiser. They never wavered. They never cowered. They never faltered. In the face of bombs and bullets and fire and death, they held true. And I will never forget that. And so here is one of those men, one of that core group of hardened warriors from Task Unit Bruiser that held the line. My friend, my teammate, and my brother, Leif Babin.
Jocko, thanks for having me. I'm fired up to be here.
Yeah, so it's interesting because, like I said, I mean, as I go back and listen to the podcasts and hear what I talk about and how much respect and admiration that I always talk about for the Marine Corps and for the Army, and I seldom talk about the boys. And as I was getting ready to have you on as the first guest, which is very appropriate, I wanted to make sure, you know, that everybody understood where I was coming from. And I think people were really excited that you're going to be on. Having a lot of them read the book that you and I wrote together, Extreme Ownership, and being intrigued about that and having had me on the podcast and talk about my life, people are, you know, interested hearing a little bit about your life. And that's kind of one of the first questions that came across as soon as I told everyone that you were going to be on the podcast. And that was, you know, what was, here's a question. First question of the day. Let's break it down. What was the motivation behind Leif becoming a SEAL? And if he can give a brief resume of his career in the forces. Break out your resume.